So summer market update. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously we could talk about all types of things. I figured what would be helpful for the purposes of like today's conversation is, I mean, I think obviously we'll talk about buyers, right? But
obviously.
we should talk about sellers, investors, and renters if we have time as well. I think we
Yep.
should try and cover a little bit for everybody because
Yeah.
there are changes, there are meaningful updates, I think, for everybody uh, with what's going on in the market. But where do you want to start?
Uh, well, I'm in Harvard Square right now. So let's start with like condo market. I've been in South Boston a decent amount, Dorchester a decent amount, and what have you. And I think that the quality of pricing and a listing in terms of the information provided really mean a lot more now for your seller than they have been in the past. I think we talked a little today that now you came in the same time, but you're a student of everything and kind of stay up to date and whatnot. But if this has been your job and you started in 2020 or 2021 where everything just immediately goes off
Right,
the market, well, then, I don't disagree on some people's points of like, you could just throw it up and it's going to get bought at that point. It takes more strategy and more effort and better marketing now to stand out amongst. Now when people talk about all the headlines are national of like there's more homes on now than there has been in the last six
right,
7 years. It's turning into a buyer's market. That is not entirely true for Massachusetts and New England, but there's pockets of stuff where people expected things to continue to go up. If something sold last year, slap 3-4% on that and then listed at that price. And that's not the case. It's kind of flat year
yeah.
over year in a lot of these things.
Right. I think the data shows, I've seen in a couple of places, the data shows that listings around here, overall listings year over year have gone up.
They have,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, right. And I think like in certain pockets, as you mentioned, you see that, right? But I think a lot of it is condos, a lot of it is like these new development townhomes, um, things like that. Like people who have who like own through COVID and things like that, and or bought during COVID, and maybe a few years later, like they're looking for a change. This is not the market for them to make a change just because of where interest rates are and what have you, unless they need to, right? And that's kind of what I'm seeing, unless they have a very special financing situation. Because
Yeah.
like if you're a cash buyer or if you have help buying things like that, that's a different ball game than somebody who's trying to get financing.
It typically is the next stage of life thing, not like I'm going to trade this condo in for a nicer one.
Yeah,
Um, in terms of like kind of like nice to have situations. You're right. It's a life situation, or you've now made an if you bought pre-COVID, you've made enough on that to warrant an ability to put a down payment on
yeah.
on
Like if you've built enough
something different.
equity, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Like if you bought beginning of COVID, you're in a position to do that. If it's towards the end, maybe
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Right.
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 So
Yep.
like because it's not like it was like a few months thing; it was a couple of years. So and things changed quite a bit during those 2 years. There's tons of appreciation, and things have still appreciated, but it's been the acceleration has been much less, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You
which is to be
accumulated
expected.
it
Yeah,
years, like for the last few years, and now maybe the last year to year and a
correct,
half, it's
exactly.
been kind of flat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I agree with you.
So I think yeah, sellers. Exactly. If you're like if you're in the market as a seller, you've got to you got to be much more thoughtful, and sometimes you got to have some difficult conversations, right? Meaning, if you've got a good agent, they're having the difficult conversation with you, being like, listen, like we can't just slap any price on it. It's got to be data backed. It's
Mm-hmm.
got to be, we have to be very, very thoughtful about all the different pieces of this particular property, what it's going to take to do showings, things like that. And then prepare for it to sit as well, right? Because that's just the way it is right now. Like even 20% buyers, even 20% buyers, they have high mortgage payments, right? Like it's not easy to buy right now, and that's why I don't know about you, Mike, but I'm not seeing tons of 5-10% buyers right now,
No, no,
right?
you are
Like
right.
because it's tougher for them. I mean, it's like, and if I hear about them, if I'm talking to people about them, they're not looking around here. They're
No.
looking somewhere else because
Yep.
prices are just way too high here. So, so I think that's a factor. And then on that note, like real quick tidbit on investors too. Like, if you're an investor in this market, like if you're somebody trying to buy a multifamily with financing, if you're trying to buy your first condo with financing, you don't have any help, you're going at it on your own, you have to know kind of what you're getting yourself into. You're probably not going to cash flow. You I think the goal for that particular investor is to get a deal from day
Yep.
one,
Yep.
take advantage of the market where it is and get a better price on it. You're probably still not going to cash flow, right? So you have to wait. You got to play the game of like, hey, I'm going to get the right price now. I'm going to wait a little bit, refinance, and then the cash flow will be better, that kind of thing. Recently, too, I told you, like, for the first time, I have a co-buying situation.
Mm-hmm.
Two roommates who are just tired of paying rent, and they want to buy a property together, buy a multifamily, and do house hacking together. A few years ago, house hacking for one individual person was easy, right? Well, not easy, but like possible.
Yes.
Um, and I mean, it's virtually impossible now if you're getting financing. But I'm also on that note, and this does not apply to investors because investors can't get gifts. But first-time home buyers, I'm hearing more and more getting gifts from family
And
to.
that's a luxury. That's
Yeah.
you should be grateful for that ability to be set up for the future like that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think if you have that, if you're a listener, and either as an investor or as as like a first time home buyer or what have you, know that that's kind of what you're up against, right? Like there are people who are doing that. They're helping their kids or other family members buy, um, and and if that's the case, then you've got to find a way to partner with somebody,
Yeah.
or if you really want the property, or maybe this is just not the market for you. That's
Hmm.
that's possible too. But I think there's some real kind of like different types of challenges and opportunities than there
Totally.
were a couple years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Well, you talk about the investment side. I think what we're seeing, I'm just going to take South Boston for example of like explosive growth over 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
But you gotta, and that's the benefit of doing more listings is understanding who the end buyer or user is. You take a buyer out, you're going to choose what is good for the buyer, and you're not really caring about how they're marketing it and whatnot. Stuff might catch your attention, but you don't care about that. But on the seller side, it's like who are the end users, and a lot of those places that would have gone at X price can't, for the simple fact that you stated that the mortgage payment is going to be more than the rent that they earn
Right.
from
Right.
the condo itself. So you eliminate, now it doesn't mean that it's not, it's still good for like somebody who's going to live in it and wants to own something and get in the game that way, but you are taking out a segment of the buying pool with
Right.
this mix of variables that we have going on
Yeah,
right now.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's less competition
Yep.
in general, but that doesn't mean there's no competition.
Hmm.
Uh, I had a client have an offer accepted yesterday, and they were up against two other offers. They had really good terms. and a comparative price, but the other two offers were higher, right? And we were seeing that before too, where like it wasn't just a higher price that
Hmm.
wins, but this is just a reminder to folks that like terms do matter. Like what you're doing. I mean, obviously, we did the whole session on inspection contingencies last week. So, listen to that if you haven't. We're not
Yeah.
going to try to spoil
Good
everything.
plug. Good plug. Yeah.
Pull it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
but but I think like there are different levers you can pull on aside from price, right? To put yourself in the best light with the current market, and sellers are giving concessions. I don't know about you, Mike. Well, I do because we
You do.
talk all the
Yeah.
time.
I was just gonna say you do. Yeah.
but for the audience, which audience, by the way, MCSS New England, what's going on? Oh yeah, one of the I forgot what this guy's name is. Sorry, Mateus. I met him last night. He's on the live.
Oh wow. All
Zubair, what's
right.
going on?
Right on.
Salman, how you doing? Thank you all for joining. But for the audience, um, like first of all, a lot of listings, not a lot, but a lot of new construction listings, I would say, they're offering they're offering concessions, like oftentimes $10,000 closing cost credit, or 1 year of HOA fees paid, and or things like that. Like that's
Yep.
not uncommon to see. Not seeing a much pushback on the buyer agent compensation piece. Like I mean, basically any pushback. Like the most I've gotten is, oh, we're not going to pay 2.5, we'll pay two.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I'm with you on that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm getting. So
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
saying, like, buyers, like, again, we have had a few sessions about that, but that's not something you have to worry about. It's the same as
Yeah.
before, and sellers are willing to do it because number one, the way the market is, and number two, like, sellers understand too that if they don't offer that, their pool gets even smaller
Yep.
with the way things are right now.
Yep.
So I think lots of things to that both sellers and buyers and investors have to keep in mind. I mean, you know the deal, Mike, right? Like I'm trying to buy something right now that maybe beginning of COVID I could have bought myself,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
because of the way things are right now, I can't. So I need partners, and that's been a whole different. So the whole landscape is different now, and I think if you're getting into it, really have people around you that know that
Yeah.
and can teach you and equip you to have success in this market. Um,
I. Yeah. And every market needs a correction, and it's just been an unprecedented 5 year stretch of just up and to the right. However, I come away on camera doing that. Whatever. But it needs, like, what we experienced wasn't normal. P- you get used to one thing, and then now you see a few that say BOM next to it, back on market. It got under agreement and then it came back on. So deals falling through, some price cuts, and that these are all symptoms of a normal. This should be happening normally.
right,
Like it shouldn't be just a layup
right,
every time. And
right.
so that is good that buyers can take a beat and have an inspection, and as the rules shake out, obviously there'll be more of that, but like these are all, you shouldn't, oh, I walked in, I have 10 minutes to decide to drop $1 million
Yeah,
on
right.
something.
That's those days I haven't seen in a while now.
Yeah.
But yes, it's definitely much more of a. I'm not saying it's a buyer's market, but it's much more of a buyer's market.
Yeah.
It's the playing field is much more even. Nikki Karos, how you doing? Welcome, welcome.
Nikki, what's up?
Um, but yeah, let's talk about the recent news about for renters,
Yeah.
right? Because we talked about investors a little bit too. Um, for those who don't know, in Massachusetts, landlords, I think as of August 1st, landlords are going to be the ones that are required to, from my understanding, are going to be the ones that are required to pay the broker fee if they decide to use a broker. The tenant cannot pay that fee. Um, so, which is, I mean, that's a big deal. And I think a big thing that, Sheed, what's up, man? The big thing that like that does is it reduces the upfront cost for the tenant. Instead of paying 3 full months, or instead of paying 4 full months worth of deposits and fees up front, meaning first, last, security, and broker fee. Now they'll only pay three. If the landlord is requiring a security deposit, or it could be two if there's no security deposit, right? So that the cost goes down a good amount. But what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I think you've already heard my thoughts on it, but
Yeah.
like, what are your thoughts? I'm curious to know.
I've always thought of like it should be in the same way that a sale goes, and whoever is representing the person or group pays for that. So, if you are the broker representing, or sorry, if you are the broker representing the owner in a rental, you're doing a service for them.
Right.
They should be responsible for that half month, right? If there's two brokers coming together, and then the buyers can still, which I think is going to be more commonplace than not, because it's just a headache going all the way all around and not knowing if you're getting screwed and whatnot. Having a reliable broker representing you, then you should be happy to pay them a half month's fee.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was always that full month situation where the owner hired this broker. You have no affiliation to them, yet you're the one
Yeah.
paying for them.
Yeah.
I always thought that is way fairer in my eyes
Sure. Yeah.
to
And
be a
I, and I,
situation.
I don't disagree with you on that. I think that that does make sense. But what this is saying is that none of that fee can be paid for by the tenant. At least that's my understanding.
It is forced broker relationship.
Correct.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
the forced broker relationship is the owner's broker being hired.
Yeah.
You as a tenant still can hire an agent, and then you would be responsible for that, their cooperating compensation of a half month.
Huh. Are
It
you
just
sure about
can't be.
that?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So the full broker fee paid for by the landlord, like it's not paid for the land, but for their portion is paid for by the landlord.
Yeah. So if you
Just
walk
like
in.
it is in, like, I mean, it's like basically it's like, co-broke.
Yeah, right, exactly, right? Like
Yeah.
you as the tenant, if you go unrepresented and
Yeah.
just sign something, you shouldn't have to pay that broker.
By the way, we have Andrew Delory. He's a lawyer. He's on the live right now as well.
Hop
Andrew,
in.
if you want to
Correct me.
join, if you want to join the live, just request. We'll have you come on. You can
Yeah.
explain this much better than we can.
Yeah.
But Andrew, thanks for joining, man. We appreciate you. But yeah. So I think like one big thing that I think people fail to realize, right, is that since it's been, I mean, in a market like the one we have, where where folks where like there's so much demand, right, and the supply has like been pretty low, and for a while it's been that way, at least around greater Boston. Like, maybe you get further out, it's not so much like that, but around greater Boston it's been like that. For example, it's been 7 years or 8 years now of me being a landlord, and I've never paid a broker fee, right? So at least in, again, in what I have around Boston. But that's going to change,
Yeah.
right? So what I'm hearing, what I think is going to happen is, like, a lot of landlords, they're going to be like, yeah, okay, I got to pay this fee, and now I'm just going to increase the rent, right? So, and I think that's what hurts tenants.
Mhm.
I think tenants will end up paying in the long run, even though upfront they'll save some money. Their month to month is going to go up. Their month to month outflow is going to go up, and I think that's what I have an issue with, is because that's going to prevent home ownership. It's going to prevent, wealth building. It's going to prevent a lot of things. So I think I mean, it'd be interesting to see too how that impacts just the investor landscape around here, because it's already a little stunted.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be interesting. I mean, the good news is that like you only pay the broker fee once if you stay in a
Yeah,
place
right,
multiple years.
right, exactly.
So,
Um, Exactly. Osama, what's up, man? Thanks for joining. I think all in all, like the key things to note when it comes to the summer market is this is not last summer. This is not the summer before that. There is still competition. It's not like, oh yeah, this place has been sitting for 20 days. Let me just sit on it and wait. I've had two situations just in the last week where I had clients who were interested in a property. Uh, they were like, "Oh, I've got time," uh, and then somebody else swoops in.
Yeah.
Right?
You
You
want to
don't.
be you want to be the first to act because then you have the most leverage when you're the only offer then.
100%.
So if you
100%.
wait, the likelihood of somebody else coming in increases and then your leverage goes down.
Yeah.
So it
Right.
still behooves you now not to say that like you see it at 2 p.m. you have to have an offer in by 6. That's just chaotic for everybody. But within that next like day or two, you should know if you want to make a play on it or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. And if you don't, you don't, right? But like,
Yeah,
I mean,
correct.
yeah, like I think that's important too. Uh, but like if you're just kind of like playing that game in your head, like how stressful, number one, how stressful is that going to be? But also it does, like it does put you in those positions where like, you really want something. It is that like on the cusp of that, 8 out of 10 scale. It's like
Yeah.
right at the eight. And then you lose it, and then like who knows how long it takes to find that eight? Like that's something to I mean, especially in a low supply environment, which it still is, right? Even though it's higher than last year, it still is low supply. That is, that's even more stressful if you're
Yeah.
serious about buying a home. So, uh, I think that's an important piece to keep in mind. The market is different, but competition is still there, especially in certain pockets, and especially if something is priced right. That's the key. If something is priced right, like for example, this property that my clients they went under agreement on yesterday, they like it's definitely underpriced, right? And that's why it got. I mean, normally like 2 3 years ago, it would have probably gotten like 15 offers.
Yeah.
But that's why I got three. But it got three offers. The two other offers were higher, but like at the end of the day, people are looking for like seamlessness. They're looking for, especially in certain sellers, like it's really important to. It's still important, just like it was a couple of years ago. It's still important to understand if you're a buyer what is important to the seller.
Hmm.
Like understand what's their preferred close date. Understand like what their situation is, right? And that'll help you put together an offer that's strong. Like this particular agent, for example, she told us, "Hey, I think she really liked us, right? So that helped. But like, she specifically was like, "Hey, you guys should write a letter." Like that kind of like I think rapport building and stuff like that. You might think like doesn't matter. It does.
It
It
does.
still matters. Like it mattered a lot before. It still matters today.
Yeah.
So in Greater Boston, right?
Yeah.
So
At least like it's I don't know, I always think of it as like when you're applying for a job, if you have a rapport and know someone in that decision making process or at that company versus blindly sending something on LinkedIn or Indeed, you're going to have a way better shot at knowing what it takes
yeah,
for that particular situation. Like you anybody can just submit an like not call, not kind of understand, just submit an offer on an email and that puts you at a disadvantage.
yeah,
Which
definitely.
it's
I
still
think.
it's normal life.
I mean,
Like
the
well,
first thing I do when clients, a bit of an aside, but still related. Like the first thing I do when clients send me a listing that they're interested in, I see who the agent's on it.
yeah,
That's the first thing I do.
yeah,
Right? Like I don't care about the disclosures. I don't care about anything else until I know who the listing agent is. And like you and I have done reasonable amount of business where we know the players,
yep.
right? We know the people who've like get a good amount of listings in certain areas and things like that, and then you slowly develop rapport, even if you haven't done a deal with them. And that matters too.
It's
So if you're trying to get help in this market, you know, I don't know. You might know two guys who know what they're doing.
yeah, some charming individuals out
Charming,
here.
some
Yeah,
like mediocre looking individuals.
tend to overdress to compensate for their ugly.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like kind of like a yeah, it's
get a lineup
a
every week type of dudes. Any
it is.
last tidbits?
Yeah,
Mike?
just on that, I mean, that's helped me out in the past of like calling the agent, building rapport. Maybe we don't get that, but that person is looking at a particular product. They're looking at a condo in Salem. They're looking at a single family in Woburn or whatever. Like the more balls you have in the air where you can get information before it's public, the better it is for your clients
Yeah,
on that
yeah.
front.
And if you're an
So,
agent too, um, if you're an agent too, like some of these like Facebook groups or like Top Agent Network, for
yeah.
example, like those channels, like if once you find out, I mean, there's some fluff out there, right? There's
Of
some
always.
nonsense, of
Yeah.
course, but like you find a few channels that are like legit, and you start to kind of like get your name out there a little bit, those can be really powerful for your clients.
Yeah.
So I would say like don't just kind of like wait for things to come to you and tell your clients to like to tell your clients to like send you listings, what have you. Do some of that work,
Yep.
like get out
Make
there.
phone calls. It embeds you in. I don't know if you saw there was something going around Instagram yesterday of lady put up a billboard that was like last year we sold 586
I saw
homes.
that.
Your cousin sold two. Now that's not to say my cousin I need to retain as a client. It depends on who your cousin is. So,
Yeah,
but
right. Yeah, you're not lying. You're
so,
not
but
lying.
it
Yeah,
is. You know we just we like networking. We like meeting people, and that helps us out.
absolutely.
And you never know, random like somebody guarantee like, oh, I can get you off market listings. Nobody bullshit. Nobody can like guarantee that. But
Yeah.
just to know somebody's like active and out there, you never know the serendipity that'll happen.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mm.
Hatem, how you doing? Hi, Sai. I look forward to catch up with you virtually sometime soon. Let's do it. We love catching up virtually.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
anytime. But sounds good. Yeah. So Mike, I mean, I think I think again, just a reminder to people, market is different.
yep,
It's not as hot, but it's still competitive. But like the biggest thing to look out for is price. If something is overpriced, it's probably going to sit. You're probably going to see some price cuts. Um, you're competing with more qualified buyers now, right? Like that's just a fact,
yep.
based on where we are. Um, and look, it's Greater Boston. Like it's going to appreciate. Like if anyone's looking for a crash, probably not going to happen. I mean, I don't
No,
have a crystal ball, but it's probably not going to happen around here. You might see stunted growth. You might see slight dip. You're not going to see a crash.
no.
So the supply and demand dynamic is very different here compared to basically the entire country, and that's a really important realization because the headlines will not tell you that, right? So,
Couldn't have,
um,
couldn't have said it better myself.
that's what I do, man. I
Yeah.
just take what's in your head. But he's Mike. I'm Saad. This is Story Time. You guys know the deal. We'll be back next week. Have a great one. Later, bud.